Any news of Mr. Dudek?
Oh, yes, some very good news, sir. Dr. Jones called from the hospital. He said that Dudek is out of surgery, and it looks good. Stable is what he said. All the vital functions look stable.
Thank heaven. Do you know if Miss Robinson and the doctor are going to come back here now?
I don't know about Miss Robinson. The doctor's going to stay at the hospital. He's a pretty conscientious guy. Say, I called you a little earlier on the house phone, but you seem to be out someplace.
Well,
you probably won't even remember this, sir, but,
Sir, you aren't champion the Ure.
I beg your pardon?
Very first sentence you ever said to me, Lieutenant. Backwards.
That was the backwards of the very first thing I said to you? You can remember that?
I wish you could remember what you were going to say to me, Lieutenant.
Greetings, Columbo fans. Welcome to the next episode of the Columbo Confab podcast. That is Steve.
And that is Sean. Well,
Yay!
Curveball. Wow, okay. So, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're reviewing the most crucial game.
No.
Which is, Season 2.
No. No, it's the most dangerous match.
With Robert Culp. What?
Isn't it, okay, no, I complained about this when we did that one. I get these mixed up so much. And I know why. It occurred to me finally why. That the title...
Mixed up with what?
I get the titles mixed up. The most crucial, the dangerous match. Wait, is it the most crucial match? But there's actually a book and a movie called The Most Dangerous Game. So I think that's where they got the title for this episode from. So
yes. So yes, we're reviewing The Most Dangerous Match. Not the most dangerous game or the most crucial match or
the most
else like that.
Crucial game or anyway, yeah, it's Laurence Harvey and not Robert Culp playing a chess master.
Yes, not Robert Culp, right?
No.
So the episode starts off.
Oh wait! Hold on, Steve. I don't want you. Let's not talk about the content of the episode quite yet because I have some fun facts to reveal.
Okay.
And they're about Laurence Harvey. These are I sometimes when I'm when I don't have a lot to do, I actually do research for the podcast.
Wow.
Yeah. So Laurence Harvey, of course, his most popular movie that he did was probably The Manchurian Candidate, alongside.
That's what I recognize him from.
Right.
Which is a great Frank Sinatra film. I love it. You have Angela
Lansbury.
Lansbury, yeah, she's in it. But it's funny. The funny story is she's younger than Laurence, but she plays his mother.
Yes.
As an actress, she's younger than he is, but yeah.
Yeah. Janet Leigh is in there as well. She's a love interest. I can't remember if she's Laurence Harvey's love interest or Frank Sinatra's.
I didn't know Janet Leigh was in there.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Another Columbo murderer. Good picture, remade many years later.
Denzel Washington, which was horrible.
Yeah. So here's some fun facts. I think that Laurence Harvey sets the record. So this episode, The Most Dangerous Match, aired in March of 1973. Well, poor Mr. Harvey died in November of 1973, a mere 7 months later. So he has the record for the Columbo murderer to die the soonest after their episode.
What did he die from?
He died of stomach cancer.
Oh.
So it's I don't know when this. I don't know if this was the last thing that he ever filmed, but usually there's a big turnover, in TV projects. But there's a couple movies that he was in that were released after this. But this is he died at the age of 45.
Holy cow!
Yeah, so that's about how old he is in this. He looks older.
He does,
but
I'm older than he is or was.
Yeah,
when he died. Jeez.
But he was a huge smoker, and what I read suggested that that's maybe why he got cancer. Probably wouldn't doubt it. Unfortunately, that is the case for many of the young people in this. The lady who played Linda Robinson also died mere 9 years after this in Europe. But more about Laurence Harvey. Laurence Harvey was quite a ladies' man. He was married 3 times. His last wife was a British model named Pamela Stone. I'm sorry, I get Pauline Stone. She was a model. And they had a child in 1963, a daughter named Domino Harvey. a girl named Domino. Okay. Domino Harvey became a bounty hunter in the 90s.
In real life.
In real life, yeah. And
What?
they made a movie about her in 2005, or it was released in 2005, called Domino. It was starring, I should have written it down. Starring, pretty young actress playing her. I can't remember the actress's name.
You get out.
No,
Oh
you
my
know the
God,
movie
I
I'm
have to
talking
see
about.
this.
You know the movie that I'm talking about, though. Do you remember this
No.
movie?
No.
Keira Knightley played her. Keira Knightley played her.
Domino.
Unfortunately, the year that movie came out, 2005, Domino herself died of a drug overdose at the young age of 30-something. So, lots of tragedy behind this guy, but probably lived a full life all the way up to the age of 45. Lots of times with the ladies and lots of smoking going on. Probably.
Wow, I have to see this movie now.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm looking at the movie poster, the one sheet, and I definitely remember seeing that, but I just had no interest in it.
I had no interest in it either. I didn't realize it was based on a real person. I just thought it was another action movie, and I never would have guessed that she was his daughter.
It says on IMDb, film is loosely based on a true story. Domino Harvey, a former model, is now a bounty hunter who has been arrested for robbing an armored car. Huh.
Yeah. So, a little fun fact out there. I just learned this a couple hours ago, and I tried to look up the bios of some of these other people. Everybody in this is dead. I know that's not a novel idea since this is from 1973 and it's 2019 as we speak. But everybody in this has been dead for a very long time. This has the highest mortality rate of any Columbo we've seen, I think. I think every single person...
What about Jack Crucian? Is he still alive?
Dead. He's dead. I mean, he was like the last one to die. He died like in 2002.
What?
Yes!
He's like the oldest guy, the oldest person on the cast.
He was in a really good movie called The Apartment, where he played, instead of a Russian guy, he played a Jewish guy.
I can see that.
The guy who, I think the last person to have died was the guy who plays the sergeant or whatever, the poor man's Jack Nicholson. The guy, you know who I'm talking about? The
sergeant. I didn't think of him as the poor man Jack Nicholson, though.
He looks like Jack Nicholson. He really does. He looks like a scruffy Jack Nicholson. I can't believe I just said a scruffy Jack Nicholson. Okay, scruffy for being young Jack Nicholson. God, that's a guy. Yeah, that's a guy that's going to die soon. I heard all that he does is drink and smoke. And I just picture old Jack Nicholson sitting around in a bathrobe, drinking and smoking and just hitting on ladies.
Yeah, he's still alive and kicking. Jack Nicholson, at least.
Yeah. I think he's got to be 80-something. So, okay, I'm sorry, but I hope... and one more fun fact.
Yeah.
Peter Falk apparently was a huge chess fan. And
really?
Yes, he took chess lessons, and he also attended a number of chess tournaments. And the climate of like the chess world at the time was chess was pretty popular in the U.S. When this aired because of Bobby Fischer, who was the world grandmaster. I don't know what the formal name of it is. He was the world champion throughout much of the 70s, and like people were really into it. I think like chess was even being televised. It was a really big deal. So for about, when I hear that, I think it makes me feel like I could see like all these old guys who play chess. Now it's really popular. It feels like some of those Doctor Who fans who now, when all the little kids are into it, they're like, oh, whatever, I don't like this anymore. But chess is not quite the pot commodity as it was then. But do you play chess? Have you ever played chess?
No, never learned the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
my kids play it, and I play checkers like Columbo.
Well, okay, so what you do is you want to learn the game and then play it on the computer, and then if you ever want to feel bad about yourself or make you think that you feel stupid, play the game, because I find it absolutely just unbearable to play chess, at least with somebody who's good, because it just drives me crazy. Seriously, it's just so stressful.
Yeah. Stressful. That's probably not the reason to play it. Okay, so this episode begins. What? This episode begins very differently. It reminds me of a cross between a introduction of a James Bond film and a fever dream.
Okay.
And which it is. It's a fever dream from Ernest Clayton.
Emmett Clayton.
I wrote in my notes Ernest, but I got Clayton. Yeah, this episode's going to be great, ladies and gentlemen. Just stick in.
Oh, this is going to be more funny than when we did Murder in Malibu. Oh. It's Emmett Clayton. It's not Ernest Plays Chess. Otherwise, we should call it
that
Ernest
would have
Plays
been
Chess.
Great. Who played Ernest? What was the name of that?
Jim Varney.
Varney. He would have been a great Columbo killer. But he's dead now, so that's not funny.
Yeah, I will file that. Well, no, that is funny. But you make a horrible Columbo killer.
Okay, so anyways, yeah, he's a grandmaster, and we find out through interviews that the press is giving him that his grandmaster status is kind of in question. He's almost like he's kind of lucked into it, and only because someone died who would have been the champion. Which, after watching this episode, makes me think, did he have something to do with the other person dying that they reference at the beginning of this episode?
Oh, no, I think it was Tomlin Dudek was the champion, and then he was sick, and he missed a couple tournaments or something. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it was that Clayton was second champion, and so he was sort of champion by default, or something like that.
Yeah, so, yeah.
But now,
anyway, so everybody's like, this is going to be a great matchup. Clayton, as we found out, is very self-centered. He loves himself more than anybody else.
Oh, surprise! Big surprise for a Columbo murderer.
Yeah. We also learned that before a game, he likes a nice martini, steak, and watching a horror movie. Which, hey, that's what I like to do every night. So
yeah, exactly. I eat steak every night too. Yeah.
Well, we live in Texas, so.
I fucking love steak. I could eat steak right now. I could eat steak when I'm full of steak.
So, I want to know these reporters. Now, you kind of answered at the beginning that chess was popular during the 70s, early 70s, which I did not know. Mm-hmm. So, I find it odd that he had like a group of like 15 reporters walking with him from the elevator to the lobby of this hotel, asking him questions and trying to get his voice samples and stuff like that, I guess for radio, I don't know, but they want his comment on whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, who are these people? And I'm thinking, are they with like a magazine like Chess Monthly?
Yeah,
and if there's actually a magazine called Chess Monthly, is it run by Sean Brantley, who also runs Bachelor World? I mean, just so many questions. And do people buy Chess Monthly thinking it's Chess Monthly? I mean, is there confusion? I mean,
Oh my God! I apologize, everyone, for the bad jokes. Steve, sometimes he doesn't know what he's doing with these jokes. Anyway, I don't know. No, it's just because chess was popular back then, so it was more plausible to have reporters chasing after a chess.
Do you think there was a Chess Monthly?
I don't know, but we could look it up. There is a chess website. Where I learned about Peter Falk. There was a little article on a little amateur chess website for a forum for people to go to.
See, I tell the jokes, you tell the interesting
facts. Yeah. I always like the scene with the reporters because it's interesting that there's that one guy, that one reporter who seems to like Clayton. Everybody else could care less about him, but that one reporter, he's like, well, good luck, Mr. Clayton, and walks away. It doesn't have to, give a care. It doesn't give a shit about Tomlin Dudek. I think it's important to note, you said that Clayton is very self-centered. Absolutely, yes. But he's very insecure. Like, he is extremely insecure.
I think he's on some kind of medication. He's so insecure. I don't know what the hell, because he goes through these, I wouldn't call them flashbacks, but
he is intense. He is one of the most intense Columbo murderers ever. Like, he's just...
Yeah, there's a scene where you find out later he actually hooks up with his with the person he's going to play against, which is played by who's the actor?
Jack Crucian.
Yeah,
I think that's
he plays Tomlin Dudek, who I guess is Russian, but he's not really. They have Russian accents, but they're from another country. We're not really sure. They mention the dictator who runs that country, obviously a fictional place. But they meet up.
You know what? That's a really good point. I do not hear of any. Okay, because I think Russia and the U.S. were in competition back in the 70s. I think that I think Bobby Fischer was going to be beaten or was challenged by a Russian chess player, and so I think it's implied that these guys are Russian. But yeah, at one point, Dudek references our leader, and he names his trainer, the guy with the mustache, and I didn't write down this character's name, but his coach, he calls him our leader. At the time, though, I don't think that Russia had a leader, but I don't quote me on that.
Well, I would have recognized the name if it was from the 70s, but they have a name. I no idea who that was.
He mentions the I thought it was supposed to be their prime minister or president, but it's actually the name of his coach, the guy with the mustache.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to reference him too, and I could not remember his name. Yeah. But anyway, so there's Dudek and Clayton meet up, and they play some, like, before the game. They kind of do like a like pre-sex kind of a match where they just going to play for fun, right?
It's called foreplay, you animal.
Yes, pre-sex. And so there's a match where Clayton loses, and he loses his mind. He just can't handle that he got so outclassed. And then he starts having these weird images. I guess they're in his head. And it's like flashing lights and like zooming in and out camera angles. And he rips out his hearing aid and throws it at the TV or at the camera, which cracks the TV screen, or at least the animation to make it look like that. It's like really bizarre.
Yeah,
like this guy is not stable.
Yeah. I don't even know that. I don't. At first, I didn't like the that idea that these weird psychedelic flashbacks, but I think it kind of conveys a good. I think it conveys the idea that he's mentally ill, that he's mentally unstable.
Yes.
And I really do think there's something there. It's not really explained very well later on, or they don't explain it at all later on. But
yeah, we find Clayton's also very. I don't want to say he's anal retentive, but he's very clean.
Yeah.
He does things his way, and it's his way or nothing. But Dudek is the opposite. He's this overweight, kind old man who likes to enjoy life. You find out later he's got a slew of health problems, diabetes, heart problems, and
he's got asthma. I saw asthma on the list later in the episode.
But he likes to go out and enjoy life. He uses the opportunity to play these matches around the world as an opportunity just to get out and experience life. And so he's always laughing. He's always trying to make. When he sees his competitor Clayton gets stressed out, he pats him on the back and say, "Don't worry about it. You know, Maybe sure it's a stress." Yeah,
one too many beautiful women around, eh?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a nice guy.
It's really sad, actually.
But yeah, so they what happens is after the press and the rabble leave the hotel lobby, the two are in the lobby. You see Tomlin leave, and then Clayton follows, and it ends up it's because Tomlin's going to a French restaurant because he just loves escargot, and I think it's funny because he knows that I guess Clayton's going to follow him, and as a result, they sit down together at a table, a checkered table. I've never been to a French restaurant that had that kind of red and white checkered table before. I thought it was an Italian place, but whatever.
I know it does look like an Italian restaurant.
But they start improvising a game of chess with like the salt and pepper shaker. A cheese with a toothpick in it. There's a shot of whiskey. What else was in that game?
Carafe of wine. It looks pretty. I tried to figure out what was what, and there's no way you could possibly figure it out. Like, okay, what are the pawns? What's the queen? What's the king? But
Right.
I think they do that on purpose because they can memorize what they are, apparently.
Yes, and so, yeah. And it's also a clue, and I know you like clues. Because
Oh, yeah, it's a clue.
It's a clue. It purposely throws off the waiter, because the waiter's not able to confirm something later.
Yeah. Gentlemen, please, I beg you.
Yeah, he wants him to leave. He's like, I need to seat other people. There's like a line to this restaurant. If it's as good as everybody says, because at the hotel they're recommending this place, there's probably a line, and he's like, I could seat like 10 other people tonight and get more tips, but no, these two idiots, and only one's eating.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's pissed.
Yeah. Well, they're ordering some sort of food because, anyway, I don't know. But what are they using as chess pieces? And they're using a piece of cheese with toothpick in it, and all I can think of is, and there's a carafe of wine, like when the bartender pours like a small thing of wine, and then
I thought that was like a shot of whiskey or something. Okay.
Either way, I'm like, I would eat or drink that. I can't play with food like that. I'd be like, even though the cheese is touching the table, I love cheese so much that I'd be like, I can't play with this. I'm going to eat the cheese. I'm going to go after that piece and take that piece out. So because I love cheese. That's why
as much as you love clues.
I think I love cheese more.
Anyway, so yeah, we find out that Dudek really likes escargot. Now, question to you is: have you ever had escargot?
Absolutely, yes, and I love it. Have you ever had it?
I had it when I was a little kid, and it was just more of like, "Hey, try this, see if you like it," kind of thing. I remember liking it, but I couldn't tell you what it tasted like. I just don't remember. It's been so long now.
They're so full of. They always come in a tray of 5 or 6 snails. In this, it looked like they came in the shells, but when I've had it, it's just a little snail, and there's no taste to the snail itself because it's so covered in garlic and butter that it's just like chewing on something that has a nice texture, like octopus. But it's just so buttery and garlicky. It's good.
Sounds good. Kind of makes me want to try it.
Oh yeah. It's if you like butter and garlic, and you don't mind smelling like butter and garlic for a day afterwards, yeah.
But I'm diabetic, so I can't have them.
Wait, yeah, I wanted to ask you that. What is so bad about butter?
I don't understand why there was so much like shade throwing at diabetics in this. Jesus.
Well, okay, he was drinking wine. That may be a problem. But butter and garlic, those are not foods to stay away from if you're diabetic. But he also has a lot of other. In fact, garlic is like one of the most healthy foods around.
Right.
But the boss later on he says, garlic is okay. Of course, garlic, but butter no. But he also has some heart issues, I think, because he's taken digitalis and all that. We find out later on. But yeah, I don't see that anyway. Where were we with this? I'm sorry.
So yeah, after the restaurant closes, they go back they sneak into Clayton's hotel room to continue playing, and of course, we find out that Dudek beats Clayton. I don't know how many games in a row.
I just want to back up. There is one important thing. There's a shot when they go back. First of all, there's a line that Clayton says that just resonates with me. When they're going back to the hotel, there's a shot in the street, and Dudek says, I don't want to go back to the main entrance because I don't want my trainer to find out that I was out. And then Clayton says it exactly like this, like a fucking prick. He says, well, there must be another way in. Come on. Like, okay. Are you annoyed? What are you doing? Why you sound like that? Anyway.
Yeah, there's mental issues for sure with this character, but
they pass through the basement where there's a giant garbage disposal machine.
Yes.
And then they go to Clayton's room where apparently he changes into his bathrobe and they play more chess.
I assume he's completely naked underneath that robe. So I wonder if there was something else going on.
But he'd be like, Tomlin, do you mind if I go into the room and wear something more comfortable? And he comes out in that robe and he's just trying to act all, casual.
I mean, I honestly thought there was something more going on that they're hinting at. But like I said, it's the 70s, probably not.
And Dudek kept his clothes on.
Yes, for some reason. Maybe he paid him in dollar bills. I don't know. But
he's like, Clayton, do you like Santa Claus?
God. But, so yeah, they sneak back to Clayton's room. Clayton loses and has the freak out, which we discussed earlier. And one thing that I think is fascinating, and it makes you think, which is a good thing. Clayton says to Dudek, "I know that you like to play mental games with your opponents, and that's what you're doing with me right now." So is Dudek? Is he actually a nice guy, or is he kind of worming his way in, trying to psych his opponent or try to get into the mind of their opponent, which he may very well be trying to do?
No, I don't think so at all.
You don't?
I think he's genuinely a nice guy. I mean, he at one point, right before Clayton tries to kill him, he even agrees to postpone the match a few days while Clayton gets his head together.
But if he has a reputation of doing this to his opponents, that's what I'm wondering.
I think that he can do that if he wants to, but he's still a nice guy. Like Columbo. He's kind of like Columbo. He can probably predict your next move, but he's not an asshole like Clayton is. Mm-hmm. He's just this big old grandpa guy who, you know.
Okay, well, I like to think he's playing a mental game. So you like the idea that he's just a friendly old, jolly old man.
Yeah. Well, there's some mental game involved, but because he's smart, but he's still really nice, which, you know, it's important because Clayton is a complete asshole.
Yeah.
So.
Two sides of the coin. So next scene is we have Columbo playing checkers with the vet. Now, we've seen this vet before, haven't we?
Yes. It was in the same season, the premiere of the same season, Etude in Black, where Columbo adopts Dog and he brings him to the vet.
Okay, I thought it was the same guy, and he was watching the concert on TV.
Yeah, it is, and it is the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
same
we
guy.
find out. I'm not quite sure. I watched the scene twice because it's not a very long scene. But why is Dog there? He's having problems with his ears.
So it's a Sunday morning, and Columbo woke up at 6:00 because Dog was scratching at his ear, and he picked up a burr or something from the
it was a burr
outside, and it was stuck
they do have
in his
big floppy ears.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he said. Well, I spend half my time taking these out of ears, and with a low slung model like yours, he just scoops them up with a vacuum cleaner. Scoops them up like a vacuum cleaner.
And we find out Mrs. Columbo is away. She's
Visiting
on vacation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Visiting her mother at a skateboarding convention.
What?
Remember Mrs. Columbo's mother broke her hip skateboarding?
I vaguely remember that. What episode was that from?
From the 90s, No Time to Die, the kidnapping one.
Jeez. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, Clayton is freaking out. He knows he's going to lose that match tomorrow morning or afternoon. So he's got to do something, anything to get out of this match. And on those options of things he can do is kill Dudek, which seems to be a really intense kind of, like, out of all the shit, like, come up that you're sick that morning. I mean, of all the plans, he decides to go with kill my opponent.
I agree. I think that was a little extreme. Like, yeah. Of course, if he was sick, then that would only postpone the inevitable, and he'd have to play him. Yeah. I agree. And it's a very strange way he goes about killing him, too, or trying to kill him.
Well, I guess if you're so self-centered, like, he would not suffer defeat very well.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of the psychological framework of Clayton, but
and he's afraid of being humiliated, which is basically what will happen. And
yeah, and it's so funny because that last game that he plays the night before the match with Dudek plays his next like 3 or 4 moves for him. Like, okay, I'm going to do this, but now you're going to do this, and then I'll do this, and that's when Clayton is shocked, like, oh my god, I'm so outclassed by this guy.
Yeah.
I've got to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. No, that's absolutely right. That's when he comes to realize, like, well, I'm fucked. My reputation is over. This cannot happen tomorrow. So what he does is the next morning, he calls Dudek at his hotel, and says, "Hey, meet me in 5 minutes." And Dudek is, shaving. You ever answer the phone when you're shaving? It is very awkward.
I wouldn't answer the phone.
Yeah, neither would I. Especially with the phones today, with a cell phone, you automatically have to get anyway. We forgot to mention that Clayton's also deaf, or
yes,
at least partially deaf.
That's true. That's true. A really important factor.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs a hearing aid. Yeah.
Old-fashioned kind where it goes out of your ear into your pocket, and then I guess there's a microphone in that, and it picks up stuff. And he can read lips, but he can't hear most things, I guess.
Well, yeah, he can read lips, but he can't hear sound at all. I mean, completely 100% deaf.
But if you can't hear a sound at all, then a hearing aid wouldn't help you. You're just deaf. I mean, there's nothing that can happen, right?
I guess. I don't know. There's the show takes special notice when he's reading lips. They'll zoom in on the actor's lips while they're talking, let you know he's watching their lips.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't think that's really that important it really doesn't tell you anything besides the fact you already know he's deaf. So after the previous evening, his hearing aid is broken. So that does come into play later. Mm-hmm. But he calls the airport, or he calls the airline to book a flight using his great Russian accent to pretend he's Dudek. He calls a taxi.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then he also calls Dudek, say, "Hey, can you meet me downstairs? It's an emergency. I need to speak to you right away." But anyway, so he meets Dudek downstairs. No, I'm sorry, I'm missing a spot. So, I guess Dudek leaves, and is it that Clayton gets access to the room?
Yeah, he puts a piece of tape over the door jamb.
Yeah, now when did he do that? When did he do that? Though?
Okay, so Dudek leaves the hotel room, tells the maid, "Yeah, you can clean the room now." And then the maid's in there, and then he waits for her to leave. Which, by the way, Dudek was supposed to meet Clayton downstairs 5 minutes after the phone call. Have you ever waited for a maid to clean your room? It seems to take forever. So then while the maid is in there, he puts the tape over the door jamb. When she leaves, he gets into the room, and he takes a piece of an envelope that has the Russian, or whatever country it is, symbol on it. But he doesn't take any other stationery. And then he meets Dudek in the basement by the garbage disposal unit and says, he has this anxiety-ridden, speech like, "Oh, there's this girl, and she's from your country. Could you write a note?" And he said, "Put it in your language." And he has Dudek write, "I'm sorry, I'm very ashamed," or something to that effect. And Dudek is actually being really super nice.
Yeah.
Until Dudek suddenly says, "What are you doing with my suitcase?" And then Clayton there's a shot of
your
him.
Russian accent sucks, by the way. I'm just saying.
I know, it sounds like
sounds Italian, actually. Mamma mia! What to do with my suitcase?
So then we just get a shot of Laurence Harvey, basically just sort of doing a Mrs. Silsanka.
Doing him.
Not doing him, no.
Well, he smothers him with his jacket? Would that really be
No, he's pushing him, basically, with the jacket in hand. And he pushes him into the garbage disposal unit. And
this garbage disposal unit, I don't think this thing actually exists. This is
okay. Yes.
It's like a big slide. I mean, if any kid saw this thing, they'd be like, "Whippy!" and go down this huge metal slide into what looks like a big box, and there's gears on the outside to make you think it's doing something.
It's okay. I looked it up, and as far as I can tell, at least nowadays, no such machine exists. There are such machines. I found one on the internet somewhere in Asia. It's kind of like a portable version, but we learned later on that it's the next greatest thing to a cleaner environment. It can crush cans, bottles, everything that you can't do with your garbage disposal unit at home. Okay, so presumably this is a horrible way to die, to be thrown into a garbage disposal unit, thrown down the slide, and then you will be torn to shreds and die. Now, presumably, since I guess Emmett left the Dudek's suitcase next to it to make it look like somehow Dudek slipped down there somehow and accidentally died. I don't know. So we arrive again. Columbo arrives.
Well, wait a minute. So no, it's really interesting. I had a flashback when watching that scene where we find out about the trash compactor thing, whatever it's called. Reminded me of a Doctor Who episode. Do you know which one I'm thinking of?
Seeds of Doom. The Seeds of Doom. Yes.
Harrison Chase. Yes.
Yes.
It wasn't now the one in Doctor Who wasn't as elaborate.
Of course, it wasn't. Yeah.
But
in its defense, that was only for organic matter.
Yeah. But anyways, so that had a little flashback when watching. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to kind of steer away, but
it's okay, no problem. So, excuse me.
But we don't actually see the deed. We just see Clayton push Dudek or whatever. I thought it looked like he was smothering him, but we all knew where it was going. He was going to throw him into that trash compactor, right. Recycler, or whatever.
So then, okay, go ahead.
No, please.
Okay, Columbo arrives back on the scene, or back in the show, I should say, and he mentions, he's talking to the chess coach, as well as Clayton's former fiancée, who arranged the match.
Such a small world. You get that, like,
yeah.
Clayton talks about, even though it's fiction. Well, yeah, the whole show's fiction, but in the story context, Clayton uses a fake girlfriend to get Dudek to write a letter confessing embarrassment and being sorry, but it's from your own country. It's like, does everybody like date one another between these two countries? It's just small world. When
I first saw this as a kid, I thought that she was dating Tomlin Dudek, but actually her mother and Dudek are old friends from the old country, which is interesting because her accent comes out. She is a European actress. I think she's from Bulgaria. Her accent comes out a little bit later on in the episode when she's talking to Columbo in the bar. But she despises Clayton, ex-fiancé. Yes. In fact, there's a great line when Columbo meets Clayton in Dudek's hotel room, and Columbo says, "Oh, I've got a nephew. He's 12 years old. I don't know. He wears big, thick glasses, and he's your number one fan. And he just loves you." And she says, "That makes two of them."
Yeah, she's got the daggers out for him. Yeah, she does not.
Yeah. What's a great scene though, because then Columbo and the coach are on the phone with the hospital, Clayton says something like, "Well, we can hope for the best, and we'll just remember him as the one of the greatest chess players ever." And Columbo says, "Oh, sir, you act as if he's died. He's unconscious in the hospital." And then Clayton just inwardly, you can tell he fucking loses it.
Yeah. So yeah, he's not dead, just severely injured, but more than likely will survive. And it reminds me of the very first episode.
I was gonna say, yeah. Where she doesn't.
I can't remember the characters' names, but the psychiatrist he finds out that his wife is alive and can pinpoint the murderer as soon as she becomes aware. Yeah. And so it's a race against the clock with Clayton to kill Dudek again before he speaks, before he can talk to anybody.
Yeah, before he wakes up from his unconscious sleep. And then we get to the toothbrush clue, which is a great clue. I love clues, Steve. Tell us about the toothbrush clue.
So when Clayton initially was going through trying to make it look like Dudek was going to leave the country because he was embarrassed that Clayton had beat him in a chess match the night before, and it's kind of funny. Clayton is putting his own fears onto Dudek saying that he freaked out and he wanted to leave. So part of the plan was to, one, call the airport, schedule or book a flight, call a taxi to have waiting, and then to pack his bag. And so one of the things he does, he goes around in the hotel room and he picks up things randomly, like his pajamas, his what else? Other things, and a toothbrush. So he picks up all these things to make it look like he was leaving in a hurry, like he was trying to get out of Dodge as fast as possible. But the interesting thing is we find out that Dudek has dentures and doesn't brush his teeth. Now, I don't know how that works. Don't you still have to like clean your denture? I don't. Hopefully, I don't ever have to find this out on my own. But
yeah, that's interesting.
But there's no reason for him to pack a toothbrush.
Right,
is the point.
This brings me back to when I was a kid and I would go to visit my grandparents in Florida. And my mom would tell me to pack toothpaste. I said, well, Ma, don't they have toothpaste? And she says, no, they have dentures, so they don't brush their teeth. However, I'm going to point out that when, right before Clayton throws him into the garbage disposal, we see Dudek's mouth up close, and he's got real teeth in there, because they're not perfect teeth. They're not dentures. Personally, if I had...
I did not pick up on that.
Yeah, if I had my choice, I'd probably get rid of all my teeth, just put in all fake ones, because I just have so much trouble with my teeth. It's costing me so much money, but whatever. We talked about that in the dentist episode, I think. I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
So Clayton's first thing he's got to do, he's got to go to the hospital to see if he can get access to Dudek. And see if he can. I don't know what he's trying to do, but he bumps.
He needs to find out what medications Dudek is taking, and he bumps into Linda, and she's got the list of medications.
Medications. Of course, it's written out into whatever Russian language.
It's written in English.
No, he says when he sees it, he goes, "Oh, that's nonsense to me. I don't know what that means." I thought
he does, but it's because it's the names of medications. Because then a moment later, he leaves and he writes it. He memorizes the list, and then from memory writes down what it all said. And I actually saw part of the list, and I saw asthma on there and what he takes for asthma.
Okay, I thought it was in another language.
No.
But anyways, okay, so that's when Columbo. So yeah, he talks to Linda and then makes his way downstairs to the first floor lobby, and he starts writing down. He's trying to remember what he saw, which we do find out one of the other interesting things about Clayton is he's got a really great memory. He can remember facts, statistics, so he's got a great ability to record things in his mind, just like you actually.
I don't record things in my mind.
Well, you remember things quite well. We were just talking about movies, and you could pull facts out of your ass that were.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So then he's writing down, what he's copying down, what he remembered, and then lo and behold, Columbo shows up. Now,
yes,
I have a theory that at this point, as soon as Columbo sees him the second time in that hospital, even before he meets him in the hospital, he knows that Clayton is the one who tried to kill Dudek.
Well, yeah, and when in this podcast we like to discuss when does Columbo know?
Yeah, and,
I think it's during the first meeting.
Really?
Oh yeah, because when Clayton comes in and he starts, oh, I can't believe he was a great, assuming he's dead. Columbo picks up like, that's weird. How did you know? Why did you think he was dead when he wasn't? So I think that put him on the list immedely. Probably the top suspect at least.
Well, I think that once he found the toothbrush clue, it put him on. Okay, so now he knows that Dudek didn't pack his own bags. Who did? Mm-hmm. None of his companions did.
And one of the scenes. There's a few scenes in this episode that I really liked, and one of them was when Columbo was talking to the coach. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it starts with a B. I don't remember either.
But he's like, why what does it matter? He has garlic, and and Columbo's trying to tell him, like, hey, I suspect foul play here. And he finally wins the coach over, saying, why did he pack a toothbrush when he has dentures? And that's when the coach kind of sides with Columbo at that point. Because right at that point before, Columbo's fighting the coach.
Yeah.
He's thinking, why are you here? You know, he's a sergeant. I don't want to speak to the sergeant. You're a lieutenant. You know, he's putting up a big front or a big wall. But he does not want to discuss this any further.
You are with homicide. Why? No one has died. Why don't you go home?
Yeah.
Was that better?
That's much better.
Okay.
So, anyways, yeah. I suspect that Columbo picked up pretty quick that Clayton was. At this point, there's not been a murder, but he's a prime suspect.
Would be murder, and also Clayton. It says that he was somebody delivered a note to him. He's the one that got the note. So if Dudek
why would he deliver a note to Clayton?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously Clayton is not telling the truth, and we find out shortly thereafter that Clayton isn't telling the truth about what he did the night before. That he met Dudek and had dinner with him at the French restaurant, which Columbo ends up sort of tricking him into going to. Right. And
before we actually go there, I want to discuss the scene at the hospital. Clayton leaves, and Columbo follows him out. And it's funny because Columbo at this point is trying very hard to engage Clayton, and Clayton's just not taking the bait.
Yeah,
and he goes, hey, there's an ice cream shop down the way. I'll buy you an ice cream. Hey, why don't you come with me? Let's go get an ice cream. And the guy's like, no, I don't want ice cream. And then he starts with flattery. He says something like, I want to learn how to play chess. Could you teach me? I would love to get some pointers from you. And Clayton, pushes that down, saying something to the effect that, you need to, I forgot what he recommends, but he's not wanting to be around Columbo. And then he tries his last thing, and he sees that Clayton's trying to hail a taxi, and he's like, "Oh no, don't get a taxi. Let me drive you." And this whole time, he's trying to have. I mean, it's a weird analogy. Trying to get the fly into the spider's web.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And Clayton is so smart. He's refusing request after request from Columbo, and he can't quite get him. But once he gets him in that car, that's when he starts playing his mind games, or Columbo starts playing his mind games with Clayton. So Columbo says, I'm famished. First he asks him a few questions, goes over a few details, why he thinks that there's foul play. Talks about the toothbrush.
He does this really weird thing too, Columbo does, where they're talking, and Columbo makes Clayton very uncomfortable by, after a moment, not talking. Do you remember this? He just starts
humming. Yeah.
And
do you think he's testing if Clayton can't hear?
No, I don't think so. I think it's obvious at this point that Clayton has a hearing aid. And by the way, I don't know. Well, no. Was Clayton looking at his mouth during this? I think he was, yeah. But anyway, also one of the few moments that we get to see Columbo drive with the top down, I must say.
Yes. Now, later in one of the 90 episodes, there is a scene, I don't remember what episode it was, but Columbo says, this is the first time I've ever had the top down in this car, which is not true because there are a few times, like this episode, where Columbo actually has the top down.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was intentional.
Some continuity guys got to get in that continuity. But he ends up driving him to the French restaurant.
Right. And so Columbo uses that, like, says, "Hey, I'm gonna do you mind? I skipped lunch. I'm hungry. Why don't you join me? I'll buy us lunch."
Yeah.
And the guy goes like, "No, I've already had lunch." And Columbo goes, this doesn't even listen. It just says, "Well, why don't you come with me and keep me company while I go to lunch?" Like, it's actually trying so hard.
It's actually kind of creepy if you were in, like, this guy's shoes. Like, why is this guy being so intent on, talking to me? I'm not that special. Like, what the hell? But he doesn't want to appear rude at first because this is a policeman. I just also want to point out that Columbo parks illegally at the Kosherama.
I did not notice that.
He
does.
Yeah, he parks directly adjacent to the restaurant, and there's a sign right there that says Kosherama parking only. Unless the French restaurant is called the Kosherama, I think that
That's
he's
an
parking
interesting name
illegally.
for a French restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. But I think probably maybe that was the name of the real restaurant, but
Right. Yeah.
I
Probably.
don't know.
Yeah. They probably went up to the restaurant owners. Look, we're going to film this Columbo. You've heard of Columbo, right? Oh yeah, I love Columbo. They're like,
Were the owners Muppets?
And so they're like, yeah, if you let us use your storefront and your parking lot for filming, you'll be on the episode. Like, oh, that's wonderful. And so, but the interior is completely different restaurant. So which I'm sure they would have been very upset by that.
I just Googled Kosherama Los Angeles, and the first thing that came up was... Oh, wait. Hold on one second. The first thing that came up was Columbo, the most dangerous match. And in images... I guess there really was a restaurant called Kosherama. But whether or not this is the exterior of the restaurant that we see, I can't tell. But I do see several pictures here of them parking at the Kosherama. So
I think what we should do in the future is do a Columbo confab convention, and then we go to a hotel, we do lobby con, and then we go to all the restaurants around LA.
So Barney's
just eat
Beanery.
out. Every night we eat out and go to all these locations. Is that not a great idea?
I think you've got it. I think that's it. That's it. Now all we need is the money and the people.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're loaded.
Where were we? Oh yeah, they're sitting there in the restaurant, and Columbo's just sort of stumbling along, trying to, talking about how he enjoys snails. Which, by the way, there's an episode in the '90s where he's in a restaurant with Roscoe Lee Brown, and Roscoe Lee Brown orders snails, and Columbo acts disgusted. And I'm like,
Roscoe Lee Brown. Oh, that's the black doctor.
Yeah, the rest in peace, Mrs. Columbo.
Yes.
Yeah, Columbo flies all the way to San Francisco to meet with him.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that.
I think he also eats escargot in the Louis Jourdan one, the Murder Under Glass, but I can't remember for sure. We'll get to that one eventually. And so eventually Clayton's like, okay, enough of this shit, and just asks the waiter, was the picture he showed you flattering? And totally onto this. And then that's like when Clayton, he just sort of tells Columbo, well, he doesn't tell him outright, but he totally takes control of the conversation. And Columbo's like, well, why didn't you tell us why you weren't here with Mr. Dudek last night? And Clayton just, says, well, it's obvious. It's because I beat him at the chess match. Because the waiter didn't know what the hell was going on. The waiter can't tell Columbo who won the chess match.
Right, yeah, it was insanity on the table.
Yeah. And I read something in the Columbo file, which is the sort of Columbo Bible, but not really. It doesn't have that much. It said one of the reasons that this episode is so good is because you have Laurence Harvey playing Clayton as a very self-conscious man, not sure of himself, trying to pretend to be a very confident man.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you have Peter Falk as Columbo playing a man who's incredibly confident and intelligent, acting like he's completely, like an idiot, like a bumbling fool, of course.
Well, yeah, Clayton does say something because Columbo's trying to remember what he was going to talk to Clayton about. So, I wanted to talk to you about something. I'm trying to remember. And Clayton said, I wish... Oh, he was complimenting also Clayton on his ability to recall facts.
Yeah.
And Clayton says something to the effect, I wish you could recall the question you were going to ask me as well as I can recall facts. Because he was getting frustrated with Columbo.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh, yes. That kind of thing.
So they're in this restaurant, and then Columbo has a telephone call.
Yes! And it goes into a commercial, which is great.
He says, this is what you hear, Columbo. And, Laurence Harvey's listening to the entire thing. Columbo's saying, he's always awake? He's up. He's moving. That's great, doctor. I'll be right there. And there's a really awkward cut where all of a sudden Columbo doesn't hang. We don't see Columbo hanging up the phone. It's just him standing there looking at Clayton, and he says, "Oh, it's my dog. He went to the vet. He's at the vet, and he just woke up. I gotta go, sir."
And Clayton thinks the whole time they're talking about Dudek.
And probably Columbo knows too. Like, oh, I'm gonna totally like freak this guy out. I'm gonna make this guy shit his pants. This pompous asshole. I'm gonna make him think Dudek is still alive, or is woken up rather. So
So dog he's alive and well. Which, why would a vet? This is one hell of a vet. In 1970s, gives the owner a buzzer. It's like when you go to a restaurant.
Right. Yes.
When you go to a restaurant and they give you the little, looks like a little cup tray, and they call you to let you know your table's ready. But at this time in the 70s, it was a vet giving a beeper.
Yeah. Well, actually, Columbo says that one of the doctors at the hospital lent it to him.
Right. Yeah. Now, I do not call. I've got a couple of animals. I do not call the doctor. I do not call the vet a doctor. Do you call your vet a doctor?
No, I call him the vet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I call my doctor the doctor, or Dr. Gatner.
The doctor?
Uh-huh. No, not the doctor, because he's not the doctor.
He's a doctor. Yeah.
He's a doctor.
The original, you might say.
Oh God. Oh.
Sorry.
So
the wine's kicking in. I apologize.
Oh, now it's kicking in. An hour later. Oh God, I can't remember what happens next after this. Oh,
okay, so Clayton goes back to Dudek's room to tamper with his insulin.
Okay.
Or replace his insulin.
Okay, right. Okay, now
did you see the visual error that was wrong with that scene?
No. I did have a problem with this scene, but what was it?
So if there's a point where Clayton walks in, gets back into the room, and he walks past a mirror. Now, they didn't block the mirror very well because there's somebody in the mirror, and I think it's the coach.
Really?
If you pause it as he walks past the mirror, there's a guy sitting on the bed because the mirror's facing the reflection of the beds. There's a guy sitting on the bed, and he's got a mustache. But it happens so quickly, and I probably spent about 5 minutes trying to pause it in the right spot. But there is somebody sitting on the bed, and you can see the reflection in the mirror.
Maybe it's a ghost. Maybe it's like 3 Minute a Baby. I see it right now. It's on right now. I just saw it. I just saw it. Like, you can only see it for like a split second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. There's like a lamp. Yes, I see it. Oh, this is so cool. This is like,
if you pause it.
Yes,
it's just right.
It's a guy in a blue shirt with a mustache. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I've never noticed that. I mean, oh, wow. Okay, so interesting.
Clayton didn't do a very good job.
Okay.
You think?
Yeah.
Let's assume that was intentional. The coach is just sitting there.
It turns out that the coach is actually a dummy, a ventriloquist dummy being operated this whole time. Mm-hmm. So he goes in there, he gets Dudek's meds out, and he replaces them with other meds. Okay, now, I ask you this, sir. I ask you this. What other meds was he replacing them with? When did he get the meds? When did he have time to get the meds? Oh, I know where he got the meds. He got the meds because, he was at the hospital. He got the list of the meds. He gets picked up by Columbo. They go to the French restaurant. He has lunch with him. And then Columbo gets the call from the vet. He has to leave. That's when Clayton goes to the medical supply store that's 3 doors down from the hotel, and he gets the meds there. Now, what does he do with the meds to make them poison? Does he just replace them with water? What does he do?
No, I think it's something. If I had to guess, if I wanted to take somebody out as a diabetic, I would replace their insulin with bleach. That would be because you're pumping it into their body.
Ooh.
And it's going to look just like insulin.
Really? Wow, that's a fun fact. Huh.
So don't try to kill me.
I think that would kill anybody, diabetic.
Well, yeah,
or not,
but yeah,
that's
you're
interesting.
forcing it. But it'd be bleach would be easily accessible.
But he pulls out medication bottles that are exactly the same.
Well, sure, he drained them and then probably put whatever poisonous chemical.
Okay, all right, okay, I can buy that. There's another issue here. I forgot to mention it. It's while they're at lunch at the French restaurant. Columbo's talking about Dudek's little tiny miniature chess set, and the fact that he didn't have it with him the night that he was at the French restaurant. And Columbo says, it's been bothering me. I couldn't sleep last night about it. And, I'm sorry, whatever. But it's wrong, because Dudek wasn't even thrown into the trash compactor until that morning. All this is still within the same day.
Yes.
So
because Clayton's wearing that same ugly jacket.
Oh, the corduroy with the. So Clayton actually then in the same day that he pushes Dudek into the trash compactor in the morning, then replaces the meds with the bad stuff, with the poison later on that same day after talking with Columbo. So it's impossible. Maybe Columbo's just like lying, like he lies about a lot of things.
And Clayton, I mean, his reputation is at stake, so he may be a very busy guy. I mean, he's probably, he's trying to get as much done, trying to get this completed as fast as possible. But we do see that Columbo does go back to the vet to pick up Dog, and that's when Columbo gets the news that something's wrong with Dudek. I don't know what the captain told him, but he's basically telling the vet, "Can you watch Dog a little bit longer? I've got to go. It's an emergency." And so that's when Columbo visits and sees what happens at the hospital. They're trying to, what do they call those things that they
defibrillators,
paddles.
defibrillators, the paddle, the paddles.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he ends up dying then. So Dudek suffers. He's got this huge bandage on his face, which makes me think he went head first into that trash compactor.
It's a really horrible way for a nice guy to die.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the most horrible way for a nice guy to die. Him and that guy from that Rip Torn drowns in the bathtub after he wins the lottery. That poor dude. Oh, yeah. He was so nice with his photography and his monkey, and then, he's celebrating. He's so happy. You don't remember the monkey?
I do.
That's the gotcha clue.
When you bring it up, I completely forgot about the stupid monkey. But
yeah, you're so happy, and then your uncle comes over.
I'm sorry if you're a Michael Jackson fan. Yes, monkeys are fun. Okay, end of story.
So are children. So your uncle comes over on Halloween night, bashes you over the head with a So Dudek is dead. Dudek is.
When you say Rip Torn, I'm sorry. I always think of the guy. It's not Rip Torn. What's his name? Rip Taylor.
Rip Taylor. Yeah. Well, we said while we were talking about that one that they should have a special edition one where you can play it with either Rip Torn or Rip Taylor in it, where they can digitally enhance it so Rip Taylor appears in it.
I would totally watch it with that enhancement. Okay, back to tonight's episode. Okay, so
Dudek is dead.
Yes,
and there's this wonderful moment when Clayton gets the news on the phone, and he looks unbelievably relieved and happy for the first time in the episode. He doesn't look angry. He doesn't look stressed. And for a moment,
wonderful pajamas. Do you?
Yeah.
Wear pajamas
great.
Like that?
Yeah. I want pajamas like that. No, I used to when I was a kid. My parents bought them for me for Christmas. True story. And they called them Dick Van Dyke pajamas. But they were nice. Now,
wait, that was the nickname, or that was the actual like a brand, like Dick Van Dyke's pajamas?
That's what they called them, Dick Van Dyke's pajamas, because they were just like the ones that Dick Van Dyke wore on his show.
Then he killed his wife and filmed it.
He didn't film it. He didn't film himself killing his wife. Anyway, we'll get to that one later. Columbo has a very serious interview with Linda Robinson, in which he learns that she actually gave Clayton the paper with all the medications on it. And then there's a scene where Columbo is looking up by the garbage compactor, the trash compactor, and Dog comes, oh, that's right, there's somebody else in this scene. I forgot to mention him.
Yes, there is a very important person, that a recurring, not a recurring character, but a recurring actor.
John Finnegan as a, I don't know what he is. Is he a trash guy? Is he garbage man? Is he?
He's not working at the beanery, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Is he looking for leftovers? I mean, to put in this chili? I'm not really sure.
He's not. So he's there, and Dog is about to slide down the chute into the trash compactor, and they all go running up after him, and they're like, "No, don't!" And they
so Dog has he can climb stairs really well
when no one's looking.
And I like that when Dog runs past the first maintenance guy, Columbo is just talking to that guy while Dog is running up to potentially his death.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I found that very odd that Columbo just, instead of talking to the maintenance guy, just ran after Dog. But we find a very interesting clue. I know you love clues.
Yeah.
In that the fact that Dog was never in any danger, because if he were to have slid down into the trash compactor or whatever the fuck that thing is, it would have shut off.
Right.
So there's an emergency system, and so if anybody were to fall into that, there is safety procedure or redundancies that would go into place.
Right. And there's something in this scene that I like a lot, that sticks out for me a lot, and it's probably the most memorable line in this episode for me. Mm-hmm. And that's when John Finnegan says, "Oh, don't worry about it. He'd be fine." And Columbo gets really angry for just a moment, and he says, "What are you talking about? He'd get mashed up in there." Like, he gets really angry with him, and like, "You're talking about my dog here." And he's like, "No, don't worry about it." And he throws a coffee can or something down there. Yeah. So that's when the light bulb goes on, the big final light bulb.
Yes, and so we find out later that whatever injury that he suffered, it would have been just falling down the chute of the trash compactor. Yeah.
And then there's a brilliant scene where Clayton is playing chess with like 10 people at once.
Yes, I like this very much.
And Columbo interrupts and walks in and starts talking to him. And really, what they're doing at this point is a verbal chess match, while Clayton is actually playing chess. And he starts out the scene very confident, and Clayton ends the scene basically losing his temper and yelling at Columbo and just, "Show me the proof, man! Show me the proof!" Yes. It's a really good scene, and he loses his concentration so much that one of the amateur players, actually checkmates him using like a really old-timey chess move where you can win the game in like 2 or 3 moves or something like that. I don't know what it's called, but it's like, everybody knows that trick type of thing.
But yeah, so he gets totally distracted. And as a matter of fact, I had it in my notes as well that, Columbo, this is a verbal chess match. He's playing all these 10 people, but it's really a match between Columbo and Clayton. Mm-hmm. And it kind of starts off where Clayton recognizes Columbo in the crowd, and he calls him out, says, "What are you doing here?" And Columbo tells him, "I've got some problems." But my favorite line that kind of starts this, like you said, this chess match between the two is Columbo says to him, because he just did a move with somebody, did a checkmate, and Columbo says, "Oh no, go ahead and make your next move. I'll wait."
Mm-hmm.
And then Clayton basically says, "No, what?" And so that's when the mental game begins, and I love that. I thought that was great. That was a great scene. I loved this scene particularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Clayton's like, "Well, show me the damn proof. Show me the goddamn proof." He doesn't say goddamn, but he may as well. And that's when Columbo brings him back down to the garbage disposal, and it's running. And it's running. It's loud, so Clayton has to take out his hearing aid. And while they're talking, Columbo tells the guys to turn the machine off. And then Columbo keeps talking as though the machine is still on. Like, I have to talk loud, sir. The damn machine. And Clayton says, well, then turn the damn machine off. And then all of a sudden he realizes, oh, wait. Yeah. He didn't
And that's
die.
when he says, only the killer or the person that would have done this would have been a deaf man.
Yeah.
And so...
Although he does tell them, I'm sorry, at the chess match, he mentions that the note that Dudek wrote was the same, probably, I think, the same pen and ink that's.
Well, and the other thing was, so Dudek had an envelope had the crest of whatever fucking country he's from, but why didn't he use the pad of paper that had the crest on it that was next to it?
Yeah.
Instead, he used a piece of paper. From a pad that wasn't in the room at all.
Yeah. These were all good clues. All right. So after a few words from our sponsor, I guess we'll rate this thing, eh?
Okay. So, Sean, there were a lot of numbers in this. Specifically towards the end, the final scene where when Clayton's playing 10 people at once. There were numbers, years being thrown about, and I know that probably was a distraction trying to figure out what number I'm going to pull from tonight's episode. So what do you think? What number do you think I'm going to pull from?
1905.
Oh, room 1905. Yes, I did write that down in my notes. But that's not it.
I didn't even. After a while, I was watching the episode, so I didn't pay attention to.
You're too engrossed.
I don't know. What is the number?
Tonight's episode for review is 40.
40.
And that's based off the line that Columbo delivers when he's talking about dentures, that his grandfather was wearing dentures since he was 40 years old. Sean, that's horrible. I am 46 years old. I have every single one of my teeth in my mouth.
Yeah, so do I.
I cannot imagine having no teeth at 40.
Well, I don't know what's wrong with somebody that they would have to have dentures when they were 40. I'm
That's
more than
pretty
40, but not as much as 46. But yeah, wow.
So 1 out of 40 years.
Okay.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
In all history, the world has known no more compelling or more moving story than that of Romeo and Juliet. Now their immortal romance inspires a motion picture of rare distinction, matchless in the magnificence and beauty of its setting, charged with spectacular action, as the magic of the Technicolor camera brilliantly recaptures all the sweep and excitement, the thrilling spectacle of a turbulent, adventurous age. This is the violent background to the most passionate love story ever told.
Go, ask his name. If he be married, my grave is like to be my wedding bed.
His name is Romeo and a Montague, the only son of your great enemy.
They were not free to love. The feud between their families had cast the shadow of intrigue throughout the sumptuous palaces of Verona, spread treachery and treason through the streets.
Gentlemen, for shame! The prince expressly hath forbidden standing in Verona streets. Good Mercutio.
Oh, why the devil came you between us?
Laurence Harvey, a virile and exciting Romeo, roused to sudden fury by a cruel destiny.
Condemn that villain unto apprehendi. Obey and go with me, for thou must die.
Let me stay here.
Let me be ta'en and die. I am content, so thou would have it so.
Matching his fire and passion with her youth and freshness is lovely Susan Shentle. Her radiant beauty won the year's most coveted role when she was chosen to play Juliet.
Oh, look. Methinks I see my cousin's ghost seeking out Romeo. Stay, Jubal, stay!
Flora Robson is the nurse, striving to shelter Juliet from the danger that her love for Romeo inflames. Norman Wooland is Paris, Romeo's bitter rival. And Mervyn Johns, Friar Lawrence, the secret friend of both the desperate young lovers.
What would you rate this episode?
I like this a lot. I never used to like this, but watching it for this, it's a shorter episode.
Was it?
Yeah, it wasn't a 2 hour. It was an hour and a half episode, and I think it's not really solid. Like, it has its problems. Like, I just the idea of throwing someone down into a garbage compactor to kill them is a little bit weird, but for a coward like Emmett Clayton, maybe that's how you do it, but I think this was really good. I think that the ending was a little off. If let's say the crime was let's say that Dudek was pushed in there by a guy who could hear. He pushes him down there. The machine stops. What happens then? I mean, does it? I don't know. Did Clayton stand there and watch Dudek fall down the chute and not go into the?
And I don't think Dudek's. How can I put this nicely? His birth, his. Yeah, girth. I'm sorry, girth. I said birth. I meant girth would not fit through that little door trap. So it would give him maybe a really close haircut, but
yeah, not so bad that he's like unconscious and requires surgery and all this. Although he was not a well man anyway. So I do have problems with that, and I have a problem with the closing scene. And I think the fact that Dudek's note was written with Clayton's pen is enough to get Clayton right then and there. And in other episodes, like, that would be enough right then and there, and there'd have to be a really dramatic scene about it. That's my problem with it. However, everything else is really cool. I really like Laurence Harvey as a murderer, and I really despise this man. Like, this is not a nice person. This is a person who is, he is... I hope they have a chess club in jail, but he is he's not a nice person. He's a disgusting human being.
So let me ask you this. Do you think Clayton got off, or did he serve time? Sounds like you think he serves time.
Well, I mentioned the chess club in jail, but again, you remember the one right after this is Double Shock, which happens to be the last 70s episode that we talked about. And at the end of that, the only thing that Columbo proved was that two people killed him. How do we know it's not two burglars working together? Oh, it had to be two burglars that know about the house. But, in this case, and Columbo says, there's this horrible line that Columbo has at the end. He says, the murderer had to be a deaf man, along with this and all the other trivial evidence that we have, I think we have
it is
a
trivial evidence. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's not good right there. I mean, a lot of the evidence in Columbo is trivial. I mean, there are very few things in Columbo that are going to send somebody to jail. Like, we're talking about, well, they've had bites and cheese. We found out since then, science has told us that that's completely not reliable. And you explained yourself why you thought it wasn't reliable. Yeah. You know, I think that he would get off. I think that if he gets,
too.
Yeah, I don't see that there's just, it's almost like it's just coincidental stuff. You know, I mean, it's quite possible that Dudek lost the match, fled the hotel room, put the note under Clayton's door, and then he was in such poor health that he died after the surgery because he had diabetes, he had a heart condition, he's got asthma, he's an old man, you know, he's probably not long for this world anyhow. It's completely plausible. However, despite that, I don't care. You know, it's a really strong episode. It's got a great murderer Columbo dynamic, and out of 40, I'm going to give it a 36. I think it might be in my top 8 of all time. Not my top 5, but maybe my top 8. I really enjoyed this, and I never did enjoy it. His corduroy outfit with the maroon turtleneck, however, gets a 0 because I think he wears. This is really a stupid thing to say, but it really bothered me that he was so well dressed throughout the rest of the episode, the day before and the day after. But on the day of the big match, he chose to wear that completely ugly and informal outfit and wears it throughout most of the episode. That bothered me. But as the story, it's fine. It doesn't. Obviously, it does not matter. So that's my take on it. Liked it much more than I remember. And yeah, I think it might have the record for the death not occurring until maybe an hour into the 50 minutes maybe into the show. So yeah, that's my thought on it. And I'm willing to bet that you're going to really like it too, but we'll see.
So to kind of follow up on did he serve time? I agree with you. Well, I don't think he really does. I think he gets off. I think in a court they see he's a deaf man. He's handicapped to a certain degree. I think he gets off. I think if he gets a good lawyer, he's off. However, the coach, when he goes back to Yugoslavia or whatever country he's from, I think he gets a death penalty.
Or he gets sent to Siberia. Siberia.
Yeah, he gets sent to Siberia. He's dead. He's going to suffer way more than Clayton does. So that poor coach, I think he's doomed. Or the doctor, maybe the physician for Dudek also. But yeah, they're going to suffer really badly when they get back because when they find out they've lost the best chess master for that country or that for the world. I think they're going to be responsible for that. So,
yeah. Okay.
So let me go and say this. I think Laurence Harvey did a great job. He looks like a villain. And then the movie that I remember him from that we discussed earlier, Manchurian Candidate, he was kind of a snobby, well-to-do person. Mm-hmm. He just plays that role very well. And he's a great actor. Absolutely. I think he's a wonderful actor. So what I'm about to say is not a reflection to how well he performed, because he did exceptional. I think Peter Falk did really well. But I think the problem that kind of makes me stumble in reviewing this is there's no murder. And it takes a while to get there. So I think it's like 30 minutes. We see Dudek and Clayton kind of play with each other and have a good time. It was really slow for me. So this episode, it kind of dragged, and I kept waiting for something to happen. Now, there were certain scenes in this episode that I really enjoyed, like at the restaurant. when Columbo says, well, Dudek was the salt, so he was white. You were the pepper, so you were black. But in the notes that Dudek, he records all his games that that black lost and white won. And I felt really frustrated with the fact that we find out about this diary of chess games much later in the episode. I didn't like that. It kind of reminded me of the joke in Death by Murder, presenting
murder by death.
Oh, thank you. Presenting evidence later that was very incriminating. I did think, though, by the scene where Columbo visits Clayton at the match with 10 people, I thought that was beautiful. I loved that scene, and I loved everything that happens after that scene. But overall, I felt this episode was kind of slow.
Wow.
And I didn't... I don't know. It's a good episode. It's not the worst, but it's very...
Maybe it's because the murder itself, the garbage disposal thing is kind of tenuous. Like, okay,
tenuous.
They worked backwards. They said, well, somebody had an idea like, oh, what if the murderer was a deaf man, and he didn't know about something about the scene of the crime and when he left it, and they're like, okay, well, maybe there was a loud noise. Oh, what could make a loud noise? What about a huge garbage disposal that could kill a guy? Okay, we'll go from there. Maybe that.
So, that was part of it, but overall, I just felt it was very slow to get to the important parts. So, out of 40, I'm not going to rate it as high as you. You said what, 30?
Wow.
30, what? You said
I'm
what?
shocked.
You said 37?
35.
35?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give it a 27. So not bad.
Okay.
Not bad. I don't hate it. I would watch it again. But I just didn't. It was too slow at the beginning. Now when it ramps up at the end, it's very enjoyable.
How ironic that after our last 90s episode that you did not enjoy the 70s episode as much as I did. Okay.
All right.
Well, that's interesting. We'll talk about what we're going to have next in a moment, but we do have one piece of feedback that I'd like to share with the group.
Nice.
The group. Like we're in AA or something. Well, maybe we will be after today. Okay. Whoa, not that one. All right. We got one email. We have one email from Victor, who has contacted us before. And forgive me, Victor, I can't remember what you contacted us about. So he says, "Dear Steve and Sean, Forgotten Lady." That's the one that is actually our last release. That was several episodes ago. Yeah. He says, Forgotten Lady is not one of my favorite Columbo episodes. Columbo questioning how high the flag was hanging. I don't know what he's talking about. There's nothing in there about a flag. Columbo questioning how high the flag was hanging, as well as the butler's reaction, is probably my favorite bit of comedy in any Columbo ever.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's
so
right.
There's a scene, they go in the patio, and, so there was a flag that the butler has to take down. Yeah. Something like that.
And he says, the butler says, "There's been a death in the family, sir." Sorry, Victor, I didn't realize. I thought it was a clue, but no. I also agree that Ned making a false confession to allow Janet Leigh to spend her last days free is one of the series' most affecting endings. My eyes welled up listening to you to describe it. Although Columbo comforting the maid at the end of Double Shock touches me too. Okay. Mostly, I didn't like the subplot concerning Columbo's firearm proficiency test, but I'm surprised you only saw it as a nice bit of comedy or filler. That didn't overstay its welcome. In retrospect, I've come to see that plot line as a foreshadowing to Columbo's letting Ned make a false confession, because Columbo giving someone his badge and allowing them to take the proficiency test for him showed that the lieutenant was not incorruptible or above breaking the law. So maybe Forgotten Lady is another episode I should give another chance. I would give that one another chance.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I hardly recommend the John Payne film Kansas City Confidential. Cheers, looking forward to next season.
Kansas City Confidential.
Kansas City Confidential. Kansas City Confidential. Now I'm fucking putting the Kansas City
Gotta stop with the blue collar, by the way. That's
Stop with the blue collar?
the blue collar language. It's affecting us because on the what's that website we were talking about earlier this week, the Colombo. There's a website.
Oh, the Colombo File blog.
Yes.
So we
got mentioned in that, but we were too blue collar. So
no, that's not what he said. He said the language might be a little blue. And I hear it's good, though. That's what he said. You haven't listened to it yet, but beware that the language might be a little blue.
Well, let him know. We read his articles, and I do. And I think it was funny. I actually, there was something, what was it? In regards to when Columbo brings up past cases. Great article, by the way. And Sean's like, oh, well, no, he's talked about us in the past. I'm like all excited. I'm like, oh, I'm excited. What did he say about us? And it was just, oh, they've got some bad language.
That's not what he said.
Oh, basically.
He said, I haven't listened to this one yet, but, you know.
they got bad language.
It might
Sean
be
has got a potty mouth.
It might be NSFW. I don't have a fucking potty mouth. Just because people, you know, people on the fucking, you know, people overreact a little bit. I think people are a little bit too overly sensitive. You know, the language ruins a bad thing. It's bad. Way too much profanity. Too much profanity would be better without the foul language. Ruins a good thing. Come on, give me a break. What are you listening with your kids in the car?
Maybe.
I guess, whatever. Could be it, but
but anyways, I was excited that we were brought up with somebody that's in my news feed. So.
Oh, okay, all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what? You know what it's time for, Steve?
Go to the bathroom.
Time to suck a Rob? No.
What?
Time to bust a Rob? No. No, it's time for the mother joke of the day. I don't know why I just thought of that. It's from Saturday Night Live a long time ago. Steve, spin the wheel. I'm not calling it the swinging wheel of the 70s anymore because it's just 70s episode. So
awesome.
Spin the wheel, Steve.
All right. I'm excited. I can't wait.
Neither can I. This is sometimes my favorite bit. So the last episode of this season of the Columbo Combat Podcast is going to be about...
Wait. Is it going to be the most dangerous match? Or no, I mean, most crucial game. No, wait. The most dangerous crucial game. No.
It's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be the last Patrick McGowan episode that we have by dawn's early light. So we can look forward to that.
Oh, I like that.
You said you liked this one last time when we picked this one, the most dangerous match. And it turns out you don't. So it's going to be by dawn's early light, starring Patrick McGowan as the head of a boys' military academy who uses a cannon to blow a guy up. Another horrible murder. It's Columbo, and it's also like
Patrick McGowan's
almost
the killer.
50 years old. Anyway, so yeah,
no, he's wonderful. I love Patrick McGowan.
Kind of sad that there's not going to be any more Patrick McGowan. We've got
some, this is our last one.
Yeah, there's no more Patrick McGowan. We got some Jack Cassidy left. We got two Jack Cassidys left. We've only done one.
Awesome.
We've got a Robert Vaughn.
Do we have a Culp one coming up?
No, we did. We've finished all the Culps. The wheel loved the Culp ones. Pick those right away. Damn. But so by dawn's early light it is. All right. So until next time, we'll bid you adieu. Ciao. Have a nice match. Steve, say goodbye.
Steve, say goodbye.
No. Okay, what do we do? Bye. Thank you for listening to the Columbo Confab podcast. To email us with a comment or question, write to columboconfab@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @columboconfab, and look for us on Facebook. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us some happy reviews on iTunes.
I love clues.
Hello, I'm Sean, and I'm the host of the 1001 Movies podcast, based on the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Each episode, I randomly pick a film from the book and spend about 10 minutes talking about its director, the cast, the genre, and my personal thoughts on the merits of the film. Each delicious yet bite-sized episode contains information about a film from practically any genre, any country, or any year. Check us out on iTunes and we'll send you free cookies. Some restrictions apply.